Fast-track courts for land disputes greater public awareness of land rights, but above all, it requires a cultural shift where Chapter 53, Failure of Law Machinery and Administrative Lapses. The menace of land grabbing thrives not merely because of the greed of a few individuals but because of systemic negligence and administrative indifference. The sub-registrar's office, being the statutory guardian of property registration, bears a pivotal responsibility to ensure that only genuine and lawful transfers take place. However, in several instances, this very institution becomes the breeding ground for frauds due to gross procedural lapses. Had the sub-registrar and his staff diligently followed the prescribed procedural safeguards, many fraudulent transfers could have been prevented. Verification of the true owner's identity is the most basic step in the process of registration. In the case under discussion, impersonation of the real owner could easily have been detected if the sub-registrar had compared the photograph of the purported seller with the photograph of the genuine owner already available in the official record. The officer ought to have questioned why an individual was gifting valuable property to a complete stranger having no familial or legal relation. Such unusual transactions should have raised immediate suspicion, compelling the officer to halt the registration for further scrutiny. Furthermore, when transactions involve the exchange of huge sums exclusively in cash, often amounting to several lakhs of rupees, the registering authority is duty-bound to examine the legality and origin of such payments in light of restrictions imposed by the Income Tax Act. The sub-registrar, being a responsible public officer, should have refused registration of any document that involves apparent violations of financial regulations. Another significant procedural safeguard concerns verification through witnesses. These witnesses serve as a crucial link in confirming the identity and intent of the parties involved. When the purported owner resides far away or cannot be physically verified, deeper verification becomes essential. Unfortunately, this statutory check is also frequently ignored, paving the way for impersonators to act with impunity. Land grabbing of such magnitude cannot occur in isolation. It flourishes through the silent cooperation or active participation of multiple stakeholders. Officials of the sub-registrar's office, investigating police personnel, and at times, local political operatives who exert undue influence. This unholy alliance ensures that fraudulent transactions are executed smoothly, complaints are suppressed, and justice remains out of reach. The failure of the law machinery in such cases is not due to lack of legislation but due to lack of vigilance, accountability, and integrity in its enforcement. Until strict accountability is fixed on every officer involved right from the registering authority to the investigating agency, the cycle of fraud, negligence, and institutional complicity will continue unabated. When a sub-registrar fails to verify identity despite photographs, fingerprints, and other safeguards being available, such failure goes beyond mere negligence and enters the realm of complicity. When large value property transactions are permitted in blatant violation of statutory cash limits under the Income Tax Act, it reflects not ignorance of law but a willful surrender to black money and criminal design. When witnesses are reduced to a formality and their role in independently verifying the executants is ignored, the registration process itself becomes a facade that legitimizes fraud instead of preventing it. Land grabbing on this scale is therefore not an accident of administration. It is the direct consequence of a captured system in which corrupt officials, compromised police officers, and patronizing political bosses act together against the citizen and the Constitution. Final sentence. Let this failure stand as a permanent indictment of those who chose silence and collusion over duty, and as a warning that the law will ultimately demand an account of every such betrayal. History will remember that when law was being strangled in the sub-registrar's office and the police station, those entrusted with its protection became its executioners, and their guilt is greater than that of any land grabber. If this is not treated as a wake-up call, future administrators must know that indifference to such frauds is not neutrality but complicity in crime.